Hi, I'm Scott Mentz, and I'm here with Father Randy Stice, St. Mary's new pastor. Father Randy has graciously agreed to an interview where he can share a little bit of his background with us. So we're going to get started here. Father, I just want to thank you for agreeing to do this.
Well, thank you for doing it. I'm happy to do it.
And I believe that it's going to be very helpful for the parishioners here at St. Mary's to get to know you a little bit more.
I hope so.
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's get started. I guess probably the first thing would be for you to just maybe tell us a little bit about your background, maybe kind of where you're from, and many of us understand that you're a convert to Catholicism. We could probably talk about that a little bit. So why don't you just go ahead, and I'll do my best to prompt you along. I'm not a professional interviewer here.
Yeah, I'm not a professional interviewee, so we'll do it together.
Sounds good.
So I come from a family of 5. I have an older brother who lives in Kingsport with his wife, and I have a younger sister who lives in Murfreesboro with her husband. I was born in Michigan, raised Methodist, went to college in Texas, and then I had kind of a conversion experience when I was in North Carolina, and for a while attended evangelical church at Chapel Hill. And then I got
About how old were you then at that time?
I was thinking about 22,
okay.
23.
So, okay.
And then through that experience I got interested in missions, and that was about 1980. That was right about the time that the United States was restoring diplomatic relationships with China. And so it was possible to go to China, but you couldn't go as a missionary, you had to have a job. So I applied to UCLA, was hired as an English teacher, and went and taught English in communist China. I lived in Canton for 3 years.
Wow, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. And then...
so you know Chinese?
Yeah, I know some Chinese, yes. I've forgotten more than I know. I was in the first group of foreigners to go to communist China. So
wow.
They kind of wanted to monitor us very carefully, and if we didn't speak Chinese, then we had to use interpreters, and so it was easy for them to sort of control us,
what you said,
make sure where we said it, where we went.
Sure.
So for me, speaking Chinese was a way to be a little more independent, to travel independently, and so I did that.
That's great. So 3 years in China, and then you came back to the States?
Yeah, I came back to the States, and I taught English at UC Santa Barbara, because I already had a relationship through UCLA. And I got involved in a Protestant charismatic church, the Vineyard. We do some of their songs now.
Oh, I know the Vineyard.
Yeah, so I was in
the Vineyard, yeah.
So I was in the Vineyard for a number of years. I started out in Oceanside. I first got acquainted with him in Santa Barbara, California, before I went to China.
Now, are you a musician as well, or?
Yeah, I play guitar and piano.
Great.
Not as much.
So did you play for the Vineyard then when you were
I was sort of
in the band.
In the band, I was in the band.
That's great.
So when I came back from China, I lived in Santa Barbara and got involved in the Vineyard there, and then I moved across the country twice with the Vineyard pastor to help start new Vineyard communities. We moved from Santa Barbara to near Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I was there for about 3.5 years. I taught at a private university there. And then we moved back to Oceanside, which is North San Diego County, and started a church there, and I taught English at UC San Diego.
Great. So you're an academic.
Yeah, well, I was a teacher.
Yeah.
Academic, yes. And then I was involved in a mission organization called Youth with a Mission, abbreviations are YWAM, and I was based in Hawaii, because people need to hear the gospel in Hawaii too.
Sure, of course.
So I lived on the Big Island for a year.
That was a tough assignment.
Yes, it was a very tough assignment. But I traveled a lot. I developed and taught a 1-month teacher training class, so I trained missionaries to teach English as a second language so they could go into Muslim and communist countries.
So how did you get interested in Catholicism?
Actually, I think that started when I was in China. I lived near Hong Kong. I was about 70 miles from Hong Kong, so we could go to Hong Kong for the weekend. And when I started going to Hong Kong, I would buy books to read, spiritual books to read, and I started reading Catholic writers like Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross, and so I think that really kind of started the process about 20 years before I actually came into the Catholic Church. But I was reading, the saints and really feeling drawn to them, and then
God was planting His seeds.
Yes, a long time in advance, slow germinating, but. And then after I finished with YWAM, I moved back to Texas, and I was going to the Episcopal Church for a while, which apparently a lot of Protestants that come into the Catholic Church do. The Catholic priest that brought me into the Catholic Church referred to it as a halfway house for Catholics, or Catholic light, but it does sort of get you used to sacramental worship and praying with the book, and I think during that period, I really sort of reflected a lot on Jesus' teaching on the Eucharist, and I really came to feel, really believe in the true presence, the real presence of Christ.
Right, which is a bit different in the Episcopal Church.
Yeah. They're kind of they're like something happens. We're not really quite sure what, but it's a little different. But the Catholic Church is much clearer about that. And then I was also very interested in contemplative prayer. In fact, before I went to seminary to study for the priesthood, I looked at the Trappists. So I think those two things, the Eucharist and the Catholic tradition of contemplative prayer, were really kind of what brought me to the Catholic Church.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was ordained June 2nd of 2007.
Wonderful. And that was in the Diocese of Knoxville?
Yes, yeah.
And that was Bishop Kurtz?
Yes.
That ordained you?
Yes.
Great.
He ordained me, and then a week later he ordained the permanent deacon in class, and then I think 2 days later he was named the Archbishop of Louisville.
Wow, so you got it just before he left.
Yes. I started with him and I finished with him. Was in January of 2009, Bishop Stice was appointed our third bishop. And in May he appointed me the director of liturgy, and then sent me back to school to study. So I'd done my formation for the priesthood at Mundelein, which is sort of northwest of Chicago, and as part of Mundelein there's a liturgical institute, and so the bishop sent me back to the liturgical institute to get a master's.
Now Mundelein we've got a couple of seminarians there now, I believe, and it's also where Father Robert Barron is the rector now, and he'll be at our Eucharistic Congress speaking.
Yeah, I had him for a couple of classes. He was teaching there when I was there.
I think he's great.
Did
you enjoy learning from him?
Oh, absolutely. And he's a wonderful homilist. So
yes.
All the seminarians want to give homilies like Father Barron.
Well, I understand that you just might be one that does.
Well, I don't know.
You've got quite a reputation when it comes to homilies.
I don't know.
I've been told that people come from all around to hear your homilies.
Well, I haven't heard that.
Well, we're certainly appreciative to have your talents here at St. Mary's. Now, just prior to coming to St. Mary's, we talked about the fact that you were director of worship and liturgy. Will you continue to have any responsibilities along those lines as pastor here?
Oh, yes. So actually, when I finished my master's in liturgy, which was February of 2011, then I came back and I was about half and half director of liturgy and then associate pastor at the cathedral. And so I will continue to serve as the director of liturgy for the diocese. I also, part of that involves serving as MC for the bishop, particularly at large liturgies like ordinations and the Chrism Mass. And I think some of my MC responsibilities are going to be taken by a couple of other priests. So I have a lessening of that, but I still will be responsible for sort of overseeing all the liturgies that the bishop celebrates in the diocese.
Making sure they're done properly.
That's right. As he would like them done.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, thanks again, Father, for agreeing to do this, and hopefully we won't have to do too much editing.
Yes. Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.